Here we're going to discuss the role of board recruitment and fundraising. This is different from the initial presentation on the relationship between the board itself and fundraising. This is about the board recruitment process and how that plays into fundraising strategies overall. So a few priorities here, or a few principles here to follow. First, around recruitment, you want to recruit board members with very explicit fundraising expectations. Those fundraising expectations can vary from one organization to the next, but you want to have clear expectations when you're trying to recruit those board members. One type of expectation that is often used is a give or get expectation. So that might be something like every board member is expected to give or get $1,000, maybe it's $100, maybe it's $5,000, whatever the amount might be. They are very common forms of fundraising expectations for board members. They come with caveats, though, that I do want to highlight. Folks who are not in a position to give at that highest number within that give or get number are going to also struggle the most, possibly, not necessarily, but possibly with their social networks to get to that number. And so if you're asking a lower income person to meet the same give or get expectation as a higher income person, they may not be able to get there quite with either strategy, or at least it may put a lot of pressure on them in ways that might make it less likely that they would even join the board or have a positive experience on the board. Another type of expectation that is very common that creates a bit more equality is the phrase "a personally meaningful contribution," and that's where the explicitness of the fundraising is not so much around a specific donation that every board member is expected to make, so much as that they're expected to make a donation that is meaningful to them. And that donation really highlights the fact that in being on the board has become one of the high priority experiences of their lifetime or of their life at that moment, even as they're probably prioritizing family, faith community, other boards they might be on, and so forth. But it really says, this is not just another charity out there in the world that I'm going to donate to. This is a charity that I've chosen to really tack my name onto and be a part of. So it really should be a meaningful donation, but what's meaningful to one person might be very different from what's meaningful to another. The board wants to or needs to prioritize candidates with relevant networks and social capital. That does not just mean high impact networks or high impact social capital. It doesn't mean the most networks or the most social capital. It really is about looking at a variety of network needs and social capital needs that the board might have. And that's going to come out in some of these other principles as well. But you want to think about the networks that you need access to and the social capital that you need access to. Um, and when I get to use, I'll get to more of that. So you want to build a diverse board in terms of background, profession, and lived experience. Please think about issues like race, age, disability, gender, sexuality, class background, experience within your community, and so forth. And what diversity means to your organization really might involve a number of different things, and some of those things might be less important. So you can decide what's important to you, but be deliberate about it, be specific about it. Assess candidates for comfort with relationship building and storytelling. So in that moment when you make the ask of a candidate, if they will join the board, that's something that you want to assess. In fact, even before you make that ask, possibly a year before you would make that ask, you want to start assessing how comfortable folks are with that relationship building process and that storytelling process. And again, that is not about class position or education or anything like that. There are folks at all income levels who can tell a great story and build a great relationship. And so you want to look for the folks who are really good at doing exactly that. And those folks are located all over the place. And there's people who struggle with that all over the place. The ones who struggle might be great candidates as well. They can be trained. There's a number of ways of getting better at that process. But you want to make sure you have some significant board members who are very good at relationship building and storytelling. And lastly, use recruitment to fill specific fundraising gaps, such as folks who are very good at thinking about major gifts, corporate sponsorships, planning events, working with foundations, and so forth, ensuring that the board collectively covers multiple revenue pathways, even as you also think about folks who might be particularly good at accounting or particularly good with legal issues and so forth. There are also a number of gaps you want to fulfill around fundraising. So take a moment and work on this activity here on building the board you need. So step one, assess the strengths of the current board. Step two, identify the gaps in that board. Step three, define 2 to 3 hypothetical recruits. In other words, don't name people yet. Just what would be the kind of position description or the profile description of those hypothetical recruits, and then make a plan to recruit 1 to 2 specific people. You can do this individually or you can do this collectively. If you start out doing steps 1 and 2 collectively, I would suggest saying doing steps 3 and 4 individually and then discussing what you came up with individually and kind of comparing your notes. So pause here and work on this activity. As a discussion, map out a board recruitment strategy. So be looking at not just where you are right now, but planning for the future as well. What is the pathway to becoming a board member? Maybe there's been a tendency for one board member to get to know a person or to bring in a friend and simply make them a board member without putting them onto a pathway through the organization to the particular experience of being on the board. What types of connections to the organization should occur before board service? Maybe there are opportunities for committee work, opportunities to engage in particular events, other ways in which someone would find a pathway into the organization before moving onto the board. What is the range of skills and social capital that the board needs for fundraising? And what does the board need to be able to do beyond fundraising? So beyond fundraising, I mentioned on the last slide, things related to financial skills, legal skills, and other things. But maybe there are even more skills that are related to the mission of the organization. So identify those as well. So take some time here to have this conversation. And to close with some resources for further learning, there's a few readings here on the role of the nonprofit board in fundraising and understanding nonprofit board engagement in general, and a video to watch that's related to that as well.